Hello, Rachel.
Hello, Ryan. How are you?
Oh, I am feeling keen. Very keen, very excited. I'm glad to be back. How about you? How are you doing?
All right.
You're all right. Can we get
Yeah.
a compilation of every time Rachel's answer is just a very mild man? All right, bruv.
I feel like I go hard on the accent when I say it.
But not our accent when you say it. You're doing a Naomi accent when you do it, wherever she's from in England. So, all right. I actually heard that actress in an interview, and her accent is slightly different to Naomi's. And so it's like, oh, okay. It's not a direct one-to-one.
It's a choice.
It is a choice, and I'm keen to know why that choice is made at some stage down the road. But before we go into all of it, outside of feeling all right, how are you feeling overall about coming back to and revisiting our cast of characters in The Expanse? We're up to season 3 now, and
I'm excited. It's new, it's fresh, it's continuing the storyline. We got lots of good stuff.
I am far more on board for the adventure ahead than when we were going into season 2. And with season 3, we're at this point where the ensemble of characters are just enjoyable and they're a good time. And there's certain characters that are just, I'm hankering to just get more time with them. I'm just hungry to hear them talk and to see them do their actions. And so here we are today on Podcast to talk about The Expanse. It's our first time through The Expanse, isn't it, Rachel?
Yes, it is. We are watching it for the first time. Other shows that we cover are rewatches for us. And since The Expanse is unique, that's another reason why it's on our Patreon first.
We have had experiences in which one of us has seen a show before and the other has not, or we've both seen a show on this podcast, but The Expanse, this is us exploring it. It has had a great reputation for a more recent series. It has had a very diehard fan base. There's been great word of mouth about it, but it just flew right past us. I partook in the first few episodes, but then just slowly stopped watching it.
Fell off,
as the youngins say these days. It fell off. And for our Patreon, we were wanting to cover a new show, and it's a great motivation to check out something new, something different, something that we haven't really gotten our teeth into before. And The Expanse was right on the top of that list. And so what do? We go through it episode by episode, and if you haven't seen it before, if you have, welcome aboard, because we are blind. We are just innocent young babes. We don't know anything that's happening here at all, and if people want to get those episodes earlier and not have to wait the week to week on the main feed, Rachel, well, what should they do?
Sign up for that Patreon.
Podcast on Patreon. Hey, you'll get a whole lot more, as well as be a part of the group Discord in which you can have a good chat with the community.
There's a private channel just for you to make fun of us being ignorant about The Expanse.
We get to talk to some fans of The Expanse, and we have some back and forth, and everyone's really good about not spoiling things that are unimportant, like that aren't important. We get some little tidbits of, hey, this thing happened, this thing, and oh, this is in the book. So I want to give Rachel here a piece of information that has come across my desk about The Expanse. So
yes,
there's some contention, and please, nerds out there, do some more digging for us, but I was told that in one of the DVD commentary tracks in season 2, the Dr. Turby character, that character with the wild accent that we have a hard time pinning down,
yeah,
they say in the commentary track that actor is a local Canadian talent who came in doing an Australian accent. And it's like, oh, okay. So he's not Australian. But that has a contradiction. In apparently the creator, one of the head writers of this show, and your favorite, Wes Chatham, the actor of Amos, do a podcast in which they explicitly say that this guy was from Australia and then moved over to Canada and is a Canadian local actor. So he may have an accent in which it used to be Aussie, but now it's been so transformed by being in Canada that it's kind of...
explains away inconsistencies.
But I have no clue if all of that is true or not because...
secondhand.
It's secondhand, but I wanted to address it because we've been slamming Dr. Accent on the podcast, but...
Dr. Accent is apparently still floating there, but we'll get to it.
We need to at least inform everyone that Yum Yum Podcast is not a funny name, it's a serious name because
no, it is a stupid
in Star
name,
Trek Discovery,
honey.
a show that we have covered. No, it's not funny. Do not laugh.
It is utterly stupid. It was stupid when it was said in Star Trek Discovery. It's stupid that you name the show after it. It's stupid that we rate things by yum being bad or yum yum being good.
But it's also an amazing title because the yum yum moment in Star Trek Discovery was such an abstract, completely arbitrary, out of nowhere decision made in which a character said yum yum in reply to a normal question in terms of a narrative of, hey, do you want to help me kill the lead antagonist of the show, torture him, make him scream? And the other character in the scene, who's just a normal person, licked their lips, threw their hair back, and campily said yum yum. Now, you may be saying, that can work. If this was a series with a lot more of those silliness to it, like Farscape, that wouldn't be something to raise your eyebrow at. But Star Trek Discovery is not always that type of show, and it was just such a fucking weird moment that we never forget it, and we bring it up every time.
Yep.
And every show has their weird little thing in which you tilt your head and go, why did you do that? Every show has their yum yum factor to it. And I think it's time to finally talk about the episode of The Expanse we are exploring today. We are up to Season 3, Episode 1, which is...
Fight or Flight. The crew has to deal with Naomi's betrayal while caught in a war between Earth and Mars. Avasalara and Bobby hatch up an escape plan.
We have to assume they'll be back.
So we'll take control of this boat. I'll ask that safe port where we can broadcast out for help.
Unless you have a better bad idea.
No.
I love looking for the horny moments in a show because Yum Yum was not just an absurd thing. It wasn't just funny or not funny. It was very sexually charged because there is something uncomfortably sexy about an attractive woman licking her lips and saying, yum, yum, in a breathy reply. When I say the name of the podcast to my sister, they get very uncomfortable to hear their younger brother say yum, yum, because it's just something just oozing from that word, those words being combined. And so The Expanse, we like to have that little bit of fun of looking for the yum, yum moment. Rachel, you are so into the character of Amos because he's a beefcake, he's a really hunky guy, that you give us the automatic Amos pick, which is...
Do I go with a line or an action?
Whatever moment of Amos made you swoon, you tell us.
I love it when he stuck it to Naomi by saying, Io. But also, like, he looked damn fine doing that, Weldon.
I'm going to make an unprecedented move on my part. I say that this episode is removed from having Yum Yum because...
What?
It's a season premiere episode, and what didn't happen? What did not happen, unlike the other season openers? Sex. Literally, the only time characters have on-screen sex and nudie scenes in this show is in the premiere episodes, and it was up to the third season to carry on that fine tradition. Yeah, you're losing it. Rachel's losing it because I'm right. You have lost The Expanse. You have lost what made you special. Instead...
You forgot your roots.
You forgot your roots. Mm-hmm.
You really pounded into the audience that it's a sci-fi original, but you do
Yeah,
it.
what was that? What was that? We had this on DVD and out of nowhere, logo, the fucking Sci-Fi channel logo popped up saying it's a Sci-Fi original. Yeah, I know. I fucking bought it on physical media. You don't need to fucking remind me of it, you dipshits. Oh, but instead, we're not allowed to have sex scenes in the premiere episodes. Yeah, we get more swearing, but that's no substitute for me seeing a shirtless Holden 3 times. You know, like, every season opens up with Holden having sex, and this one withheld that, so I'm withholding any kind of sexiness, even though there is plenty. Like, Amos was welding.
Yeah.
That was pretty good, but
Yeah, and like...
no
him,
zero G
like-
sex. Just, I'm upset. George is getting mad.
Oh, your disappointment is valid.
And immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Your day's ruined.
My day is completely ruined because I didn't get to see Naomi whip off her jumpsuit to get fucked real hard by Holden.
Oh, if they had done hate sex with the two of them after, like, her betrayal.
If he fucked the plant, I would have been satisfied.
If Prax...
No, he's a father. We're not allowed to see dads have sex in this show.
What?
Alex doesn't get to have any sexy stuff, and he's the only other dad in the show. Am I wrong?
Aaron writes a dad, also not fucked.
He's had a shirtless scene.
Yeah.
That's the closest. And it was a surprise that he was a dad.
Mm-hmm, that too.
That was a reveal.
Yeah.
Dads aren't allowed to have sex in the Expanse. That's why they're going to
No.
war. That's why they're
They
going
say
to war.
no to daddies.
They say no to daddies, but yes to mummies. Fight or flight, I'm keen to know. What are your thoughts on this episode?
It was pretty good. I liked most of it. The parts that I didn't like were when it really felt like a premiere, and I can't blame it for that because it is one. So yeah, it does kind of need to do those things, but sometimes it was just a little bit too showy. I was like, here's why you watch it. Remember, it looks pretty. We got all of these things going on and all of these politics, and now there's war.
It is a very flashy opening with the cinematography, the special effects, the action
Get
set
a recap
pieces.
of the whole solar system.
But they earn it because it is the opening of a season. This is when you lay out the table and you grab all of the nice cutlery and you put it out there and you say, see, this is a meal worth eating. This is a fine dining experience. You have to pull out all of the stops for
Brought to you by Sci-Fi.
Brought to you by Sci-Fi, which was fucking confounding. Can we just explain that for a brief moment?
We'll have the aside. So we have the first 3 seasons on DVD.
Blu-ray specifically.
Yes, physical media. Ryan's a fan of physical media.
Yeah.
Love our DVD collection. But it was confusing because we were watching it and like the credits were happening like as they do.
A normal scene was proceeding. It was just going along nicely. Hey, look, it's Aaron
we had
Wright.
the opening credits, which thankfully they've kept.
They keep it up. There's been some changes in the
Yep.
visuals there, so that's cool.
But then it's just like this, the scene of the episode has started, and then the Sci-Fi logo comes up.
And it's not just that it comes up. It's a special effect of how it comes up, like it's like a bubble popping in front of you. It's so gaudy.
So look at us.
And it's gaudy and tacky and just out of place.
And I really hope it
for
goes away.
If it's in every episode of this season, I'm going to rip my hair out. And it's not happened in the other 2 seasons. Like,
No.
we've seen that it's a Sci-Fi original or whatever, but like, it's not done it like this before. It was just so... And if it has, I have removed it from my brain. If it's in other episodes...
as garish.
It was so just outspoken. But...
Like, they let us know that it was a Sci-Fi original.
Don't worry,
but
we will only have to last a season with it being a Sci-Fi original. Then it's an Amazon Prime original. So we'll see if they do a gaudy little, hey, this is by us. Look at us. Well, aren't we ever so rich and powerful?
Yeah.
But you enjoyed this episode overall, but were taken aback by just the overall flashy quality of just look at us, we're
a
here.
lot of flourishes that drew attention to themselves. And, if I'd been waiting for like a year for this season, I would be lapping it up, being like, yeah, this is what I want, this is what I love. But since, it's been like a couple of weeks for us in between finishing last season and starting this one, it's like, oh yeah, whatever.
I enjoyed Fight or Flight. I thought this was a very good episode of television. I prefer the season 2 opener to this one, but only by a small margin. It did have sex. That's a big margin. That's a very big margin. Open it up. In fact, it's the worst episode I've ever seen now, Fight or Flight, because the lack of sex. But in all sincerity, I thought this was a rip-roaring good time. This was a rollicking adventure. It did a spectacular job of setting up the stakes for the season ahead, as well as following through on the ones that were laid before, but it never forgot the emotional core at the center of it. We've had this issue in previous episodes of The Expanse in which it does a little bit too much emphasis on the structure of a story rather than masking that structure, rather than building upon the foundation with an emphasis on emotions and of characters. And I really felt that they married them so beautifully together, in which, I'm not going to lie, I was getting a little bit choked up in the back of the throat. I was getting a little bit misty-eyed at some of the sequences in the episode because I was so invested in the people rather than just the quests that they're going to have to go on instead.
How about one for a guy who has a problem tilting at windmills?
Tilting at windmills?
I tend to take on fights that can't be won. It's nice to let go of all that.
Well, it's too bad. It's the way a child looks at things, with a sense of the possible.
There ain't no more pussyfooting around it. We've spent 2 seasons in a world like no other.
In a world of tomorrow. In the world of tomorrow.
In a world where every man and his dog is saying war is inevitable. Mars and Earth are gonna go toe to toe. It's just a matter of time.
Give a monkey a stick.
Now we have a formal declaration of war from the UN. We get that. Aaron Wright fucking guarantees it.
He's such a shit. I really liked the opening with all of the different radio and TV signals that we hear about the conflict as it's emerging, and how each sector we hear it from gives you a characterization of that faction. So Earth is very much playing it as, wow, isn't this an interesting thing that has stumbled across that we've never known about before? How could this have gone on? Those Martians seem to be withholding things. How could this be?
All biased.
Yeah, and
all of it.
Earth's one is very much more subtle in the, we have it under control. We are the stronger one. And then you cut to Mars and it is, finally, our manifest destiny is going into motion. We are the top dogs. We are going to be the ones that are in charge.
Yeah.
We have the ships. We have the men. We have the resources. Fuck Earth. Rah, rah, rah. Just full military trust in the government is something Alex says later that you can really get from this.
He echoes the Mars ideology.
And then when you cut towards the belt, they're just left in the dark of, oh, things aren't looking good over there.
The inners are making war.
And the OPA, there's rumblings of stuff from them, but who knows? We're in the dark. Poor us. Ugh.
But it's satisfying and disappointing now that it's here. Because every big thing that's happened in The Expanse has brought them closer to war. But it's just like each time that they get away with it, Christian manages to pull it together.
Or Holden or some outside force.
She's not on Earth and he's not in control. So it's just gotten to the point where they can't hold it back anymore. And it's just like it feels like it's going to be a big shift, but also not.
There is no one in the war room anymore or the council chambers that has strong convictions that are on the side of good. We have Aaron Wright.
Nobody wants peace in that room.
And if they do, they're weak of will. They can be swayed. Aaron Wright.
Chance.
Oh, yeah, the Secretary General. He's great. We will talk about him. But Aaron Wright, he is just delighting in finally getting to unload all of his rhetoric that he's been holding deep within himself. Like, this is what he's all about.
Yeah. And he doesn't have to play a part anymore. He has the justification that he needs.
You got that insane general as well, like that war-hungry general he's always hovering about.
Stacked the deck in his favor.
Christian is no longer there to offer an alternative voice.
He even throws her under the fucking bus.
He waits and bides his time to do that in private, which is the real subtle play, because he is going to
she's
put it
almost
on.
a mother to me.
Yeah, he's going to put it on we can't wait on Christian. The clock is ticking. Our men are dying out there. We can't wait around for the woman who's usually the one that saves us. I have to be the one to save us. Yeah. Oh, that's so troublesome for me.
I loved the line that he had about, like, your destiny and, like, what they write about you in the history books is about to be written.
That was a great piece of manipulation for that.
And it didn't work in the way that he wanted to. It didn't land fully. It's not like he didn't go like, well, yeah, I don't want to be known as a coward. It's just like, oh, no, that's a reason to wait.
Mm-hmm.
That is a reason to wait. But he shifts him that last little bit, just that nudge, and it really makes you appreciate how close to war they have been this whole time.
What I love about the Secretary General as a character is, although he is powerful, he is lacking power because of people like Christian.
A shadow government. That's what Aaron Wright calls it.
And because the show itself shows no respect towards the Secretary General.
He's the one in charge. He's not the one with the power. And we've had that constantly with Aaron Wright and Avasarala. One of the first conversations that we saw with the two of them was him being like, why are you in this position? You clearly could have been more. And she's just like, I like this spot.
It is less danger, but it is more power, because the Secretary General cannot afford the abilities to be as strictly observant as they can be. And here's the wonderful thing. So the show doesn't care for him because he gets so little screen time. And when he does, it's not as if he's played as cartoonly inept, but it is the fact that he has no presence.
Yes.
To the point in which when he is arguing the moral things, you don't believe it from him. And it's not because it's not like he doesn't believe in those things. It's just, this is not the man who is going to stand firm in those convictions. He's going to say them for the sake of saying them, and that's what happens. He is absolutely spineless.
He's just a mouthpiece.
He's easily manipulated because he is a coward in a lot of ways. To this point, what's his name? Could you tell me his name? What's the man's name?
No, I can't.
That's how much of a echo of a person he is. So when he is told, this is your moment, this is when your name and your actions and your personhood will be remembered through history, of course that's going to be the carrot on the stick to lead him down the road of war and death and destruction, and basically the road to hell. This is a man who, in the show itself, we don't know him. He is a nothing person, but that's not because it's poor writing or badly executed. This is purposeful.
Yes.
The fact that he is so minimal and yet he is the most powerful man on the planet.
His job. He's not a person. He's his job. He's not a character. They're not interested in making him a character.
I wouldn't be surprised if this season pushes him to the forefront more with that, but he's a piece on the board for them to play with rather than a player himself, which is absolutely great. Because
he thinks he's the king, but he's not.
He has that moment where he says that, we're going to have to draft a formal declaration of war. And that actor, again, this actor, he does such a good job in this part because when he says that, you can tell that it's the character putting on this bluster in himself of like, I've got to put on this, this is my epic moment.
Yes.
And it falls so empty when he does it. Yet it makes our hearts sink a bit because now there is going to be an open conflict between these groups and there shouldn't be, but because of the hubris of certain individuals, it's fallen into this. But I really wanted to just say, like, who is the Secretary General? We asked that in season 1. We finally got to meet him, and we still ask, like, who is this guy? I don't know. He's just someone that is there because you need a face rather than an actual man.
Mm-hmm.
I like Aaron Wright as a man who is taking the series antagonist role. Like, he is the antagonist of the show. There is no qualms now, morally. He's no longer wishy-washy or hiding or contemplating.
He's all in.
When he gets the message that the mess has not been cleaned up, what should we do now? It is a small piece of acting, but the body language and his expression of, oh my God, everything I've done is going to be completely over soon. It's
falling apart.
Yeah, I no longer have the power, and you can see the panic.
I survived by the skin of my teeth last time. Am I going to be lucky again? What have I got? What options have I got? What plays can I make? And he pins Avaslara for what he has done.
She saved Earth from Eros, from a disaster that she unleashed herself. Look, it was Christian who convinced us to give control of the missiles to Fred Johnson during the Eros crisis, missiles that still go unaccounted for.
So where is she now?
According to my sources, she's left for a covert meeting on board a ship owned by Jules Pierre Mal, accompanied by the Martian defector.
He takes control in this moment. He gets the Secretary General to basically hand over all of the authorities on how to deal with Christian. And since he knows where she is, I'm going to send a bunch of missiles over there. I'm going to send some people over there to shoot the living shit out of that ship. And take care of business because
clean up.
Oh, but I'm playing it as she's a traitorous person, not because I've tried to kill her and she's somehow survived. Oopsies. And that brings us over to Christian, and we are following through on her having to get off of Mal's ship to go through the crucible of that ship in terms of there are other people to contend with, as well as the ship is in lockdown, there's systems to overrun, and there's just a whole slew of things, and Kotya is still injured, severely injured. He's in and out, and she has to help him, protect him. She's got
those antibiotics.
Got his blood all over her hands, all over her. I really like their dynamic in this episode. I really appreciate that we have gotten more time with these two.
Yeah,
because
so do I.
when we started season 2, I really liked them together, but we didn't get as much of them during the course of the season as I was hoping. But in the back half, like in the final couple, and now the start of season 3, they just have more scenes of dialogue together. And these actors, they play off of each other so well. They have just a certain...
They spar.
They spar, and they have a different type of energy to all of the other actors in the show. They just have a certain off-kilter, like odd kind of vibe to them that I just always gravitate towards. So what does Christian have to get up to? So she's having to provide some medical assistance to Kotia, but what's going on? What's going on?
Well, they're trying to figure out a way off the ship, but everything keeps on going wrong. So Bobby goes and collects the electrician.
Yeah, the Sparky guy. Yeah. She's still in her big suit.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the exchange of, no, Bobby, you're supposed to be protecting me. You're supposed to be protecting me. And Bobby just disregards it of, I am protecting you by doing this. Also, here's a gun. Protect yourself.
Yeah, like, we gotta get off this ship. And if I have to leave to make that happen, I gotta go.
You're fired, Bobby. Bad job being a bodyguard. That was great.
That was great.
It was cheesy. That was some 90s sci-fi TV cheese in my veins.
Love it. Lap it up. And then, because the missiles are coming, nothing in the ship works.
There's other members of the crew that have also ensured things are happening to lock things down. And
Bobby's suit gets damaged by a booby trap.
I love Christian with a big gun, like with a pistol that's bigger than her head, and she's just struggling to hold it, and she's ordered to shoot anyone other than me who comes in here. And of course, Bobby enters in later, and Christian just shoots wildly. And a lot of shots do hit Bobby, but Bobby's in the big power armor, and she's just like, oh, good job. Good job. Give me the gun back. Thank you. Good job. You did really well with that. They do have to make their way up to a certain area, and Bobby gets owned royally for having a big suit on, because she's got a marine power suit thing on, and that means that no one can hurt her because she's impervious to all of the weapons that people have, because it seems like you need really good guns to shoot through her, or you need a blue goo man to rip through. But those nefarious Mao people, they got her real good by electrifying the floor, by just like zapping her. And was it funny? Was it meant to be funny? When she fell,
funny.
When she fell, like she just powered down and just went crack down.
Goofy, but I didn't really find it funny.
There's a timer, a countdown. They know their objectives. This ship will work, but it only has this many. They find out it only carries this many people. There's this one here, but we don't know if it's operational. We'll have to separate. It's a mission. And Christian doesn't always get these type of stories. These are the ones that the Rossi crew would get more often than not. And
well, this kind of story doesn't work on Earth.
Correct. And I felt like this was refreshing because of the set of characters involved. Bobby, we have not really gotten to see actually do the soldiery stuff that she gets to do in this episode. Kotia, we haven't really got to see him do too much, and even in this one, he's severely injured, but he's cracking wise, which is always nice. And Christian, she's the talker. She's supposed to talk her way out of problems and make solutions via just her cunning, but to have her in the run and gun approach story was really just refreshing to me. I was like, oh, okay. If this was another like Amos and like Holden and Naomi's story, I probably wouldn't care about it too much. But because we have a set of characters who are not always in this type, I was giving it more attention than I would usually. And how did you fare with that? Did that happen for you, or did you like this overall? Or
Yeah,
what were you
it definitely
feeling?
felt more fresh because it's new characters. It's not the Rossi doing the same thing. Though they got renamed in this one,
Yes.
and I think it's going to take me a little while.
Christian Twiggs, hey, he sent me a message, that idiot, because he had to be cocky. Aaron Wright needed to be a showman about his evilness. That means there's evidence. That recording is here. It's somewhere in the system, and I need it because I can't go back until I have evidence of what is going on, because he'll frame me, he'll make me look like the villain, and it's a pretty concrete way of doing it, so I need something to break through. And the electrician guy, he is just the voice of reason. There's so much of it. Please. That would take like hours. There's so much, and we've only got like 15 minutes at that point, I think. And what did you think about how she managed to talk everyone into this being an option?
I loved it because they all got convinced by different things and begrudgingly accepted it. It's just like, oh, we have to. Okay, you're not letting this go, so we gotta do this. Or, oh, damn you, lady. You're right.
She gives really good speeches. I liked her big patriotic speech to him and how she reminded him about there are people back home that you love. And don't you want to see them again? Don't you want there not to be a war between planets? Even though you work for a slimy capitalist, your heart's not in that, right? And he nods and he gives the agreement to it. She says, thank you for what you've done here, you know, your service to your planet. And I really love how Katya's just like, oh.
Katya's like, oh, she says that to everybody.
Her actual plot in this episode, I didn't find all that compelling. It's a lot of running and action stuff, but...
And you know they're in danger, but you know that they're safe.
You know she's safe, at least. Katya, he could die.
Yeah, but I was like, oh, they saved him for now. I don't think he's gonna die. I don't think he's gonna die this episode. Like he might. But like just the feel of the episode made me go, nah, they're not gonna go for that gut punch of a character death in this one.
They, of course, would not kill Bobby because they spent a whole season telling us how badass and cool she is.
She's great, and she's great at her job, and she I was going to say kills it.
She does kill people.
Yeah. And I was like, does she kill anybody in this episode, though?
Katya kills those guys, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a killer. Good job, Spy. That was great. Their
banter is just mwah.
You had problems with Bobby as a character, but she's...
So did you.
Yes, but you more so than I.
Yeah, she really annoyed me. And, like, I like where she is now. I am a little bit unsure of how they're going to go with her in the future. Like, if I'm going to still like her at the end of this season, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to love her or hate her. Like, I just don't... I'm not settled in with her the way that I am with the other characters. And that is weird to say because I also don't know what they're going to do with those other characters. But I have enough faith that the story will be satisfying. But I don't have that with Bobby because last season's wasn't.
I'm ambivalent about her because she's at this stage where her role is just to be the action person. Like, she does the set pieces, and I've said this during our Star Trek conversations, but I don't really care about action set pieces all that much in my sci-fi TV. The fist fights, the gun shootouts, even spaceship battles are the things that I'm in these stories. I'm in them. Like, those are the elements that I'm the least interested in.
You're not here for that.
I'm not here for that, but they serve a means, and it's perfectly fine. And I'm ambivalent because she does all of this stuff well, the character, and they utilize her, and her approach to she's so nonchalant about everything. Oh, this doesn't work? Okay, I know the solution. I'll just walk outside. I'll just walk outside and just crawl my way up the outside of the moving ship and open the doors manually with my fucking claws, with my little fingies. I'll push this button, I'll punch this thing. She's a blunt force. That's what she is.
Yeah.
And it's fine. It's totally fine. But I don't find her currently that dramatic, that compelling, dramatically speaking. She's there to do the things, and it's perfectly fine. I know that there's more to her because, again, the first episode or two she was introduced in really hammered that in, and we've had those glimpses since, but we just had a stretch of episodes where she's there to be the person who does the punching scenes. Yeah. And, that's not my cup of tea. They get off the ship in the nick of time. They have to separate, of course. Bobby is the one who has to drive the ship with Christian on it. And it's Julie's ship, her racing ship.
Yep.
The Razorback. We actually get to see it.
Yes.
And I'm going to quiz you on something. Do you think this will be one of the new ships that is in the show? So we've had the Rossi. Do you think this will be one that stays around?
I don't think so. I just don't think it will become a main ship because it's two people, it's built for speed. So it just isn't functional in the way that the Rossi is in terms of being a set.
I understand. It would be cool if they utilized it for infiltration into Mao's stuff because it is his daughter's ship or something. Or they take it to Venus. Just because
I think
Julie's there.
I think it will continue to play a role, but I think it's going to get destroyed before the season's over.
Shit, wait. When I was not selling out to the captain, he told us Mao kept his kid's ship up in the hangar bay. A racing ship!
Let's go! Move!
We get a little bit of Tycho in our lives.
Oh, Rachel's getting musical with this.
Yeah.
When's the musical episode of The Expanse happening?
I wasn't expecting to get Tycho this episode. I was and I wasn't. Because we had the big reveal at the end of the last one that Fred has the goo. So it was how much of him are we going to get? Nothing or a lot? And we get a little bit. We get a little bit. We get him recording a message for the OPA.
For Anderson Dawes specifically.
Yes. Thank you for
saying his name, thinking it twice. If you look in the mirror and say Anderson Dawes 3 times, Jared Harris will appear and do a silly accent for you.
But it's more about the rift that is forming between Fred and his right-hand lady.
Who did not get a name.
Still?
I was expecting, okay, maybe in season 2, they didn't realize how good of a character they had here, and she was like a secondary, like minor recurring character. And now they are in the 3rd season. They realize this. They're going to fill her out more. She's even got more backstory given to her in this episode about how her and him helped build Tycho Station. Like, there's more, like,
and he
more
knows better
knowledge.
than to go after her when she's pissed, giving her a couple of days, and all of these things.
I thought, they'll say her name in season 3.
Look, what's wrong with you?
And just for everyone out there, I do know what her name is because this is one of the few characters I was aware of before watching through the Expanse. Like, this is one of the people that the fans mention by name a lot. I know, but the thing is, we're going to keep calling her this until the show says it. And maybe I know we haven't missed her name because you know what I've done? I've been listening. You know what I do in my spare time? I have the Expanse transcripts.
Yeah.
And I control F and go, is the name here? I write her name and nope, doesn't pop up.
Okay. I feel better.
I'm a nerd like that, so don't you, and if I'm wrong, don't tell me. She is great though.
Yes, she is.
But it is about that rift forming between them. They give us the grander plot of he contacts Anderson Dawes and lays out the info. Hey, I've got the blue goo, but you've got the man that can utilize it. We need to work together. You need to bring me back in. You disowned me, but now you need me. Grow the fuck up, Anderson Dawes, and give me a call.
Together.
Yeah, empty out your bowl and give some to me. And that is there, and that's enticing, but it's about character. It's about the character dynamic between Fred Johnson and this woman, but also it is relating to how Fred is getting corrupted from the power, from this blue goo. He is on this Ahab-like adventure. He is no longer a man seeking redemption. He is a man seeking authority. And
superiority.
That's superiority. And that's worrying for those around him, for someone who has had the potential to go on that path themselves and has rejected it, because that's what we get from her stories in this episode, is she's had so many opportunities
we kind of got that from her conversation with Dawes previously as well, that she was in the inner circle and she walked away. And we are left questioning, is she going to walk away from Fred now?
She has suffered, and she has endured, as many belters do, for the cause, for the belief, but she has a very strict moral code, and she will go against those who are also for the cause that cross that line, that she has a certain something, and Fred is getting real close to it. Mm-hmm. She still has the injury from the uprising last season. She keeps opening that old wound because she cannot stop. She is like
she won't
exercising. She's just
she won't let herself heal. And it's a very, very like in your face metaphor.
Oh, see, it was so in my face that I couldn't see the metaphor, because all I could see was a very buff lady, and I was like,
oh, you scam.
But no yum-yums for this episode because they didn't have sex in the episode. So, sorry. If I could, I would, but I can't, so I won't. And do you think she will go against him at some point?
Yes.
Do you think he is going to fall too much into the well of Anderson Dawes and the OPA and all of it? The blue goo is ruining him?
I see either she walks away or it gets her killed.
He has a plan. Specifically, they need to get the Nauvoo back. They need the Mormon ship. They mentioned the Mormons. There was a like,
gonna get back in bed with the Mormons or a comment like that.
They teased me. They teased me because she said that and hinted at, is there going to be a plot where the Mormons are a faction we're going to use? And then Fred said, no. He was weird because he didn't just say no.
He said, no, Ryan, that's not happening. I don't want to get your hopes up.
And then he grabbed...
moving beyond the Mormons.
And then his hand came out of the screen and slapped me in the face and said, get over it, idiot. We're not doing that. What we're doing is something else. And then I cried, which is very weird because if someone else is watching this on their TV... they don't get to see me cry, yet they can feel the tears somehow. I don't know how they filmed that. How the team behind The Expanse managed to get that interactivity going on, but it was really palpable. But they teased me. They fucking teased me.
The Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's like smell-o-vision. They teased me with, we're going to use the Mormons. No, we're going to use their ship as basically a staging ground for military might. I like
it becomes a battleship.
It's a battleship now.
What? Like the...
Oh, yes.
She has a great line about it. Like...
to build a nation from bloodlust and war that doesn't... but using a church.
Yeah.
Turning a church into that. Naomi fucked it up.
Royally.
She
royally
fucked it up
and I love that everybody hates her. I love it.
I was shocked.
I love it because it's just real.
And she deserves
real
it. She deserves it
that
too.
They would be like, okay, well, you're not the person that I thought you were. But they still listen to her. She's still a member of the crew.
Much to their dismay.
Yeah, because they listen to her saying we've got to go back to Tycho.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's not like her vote doesn't matter. It's not like they listen
logical.
to her and then they go, yep, okay, well all 4 of us are in agreement. Naomi, your opinion can go get fucked.
Mm-hmm. She makes a point, and that's the problem, is they want to reject it, but it's the only viable option they have because
they want to live.
The war is on, and they are going to be they're going to be the biggest target.
Either sides, and she does lay it out in a very straightforward manner where you can tell that the character has thought through this conversation. And she's like, okay, well, what if they say this? Okay, I gotta say this. I gotta say that. I was
shocked that they implemented it like this. So at the end of the last episode, she told Holden and he looked mortified. Cut to this episode, everyone knows. We didn't get a scene of them being told. Everyone knows
by that too.
And it was great because there was a moment or two early on in which the characters were behaving in a peculiar manner, and you're like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then the reveal is, they know, and of course they're angry, and it gave me a sigh of relief of, okay, we're skipping through the bit that we don't need to. They're on my side, which is they hate Naomi.
Yeah, it's just like, and we're done. Like, they don't need to show that scene because them finding out is not the important thing. Like, Holden finding out, it was really important to see his reaction because he's the first one, obviously. But the others, it matters more what they do now that they know.
The Rossi crew were held together early on because of Naomi. Not only because of her leadership. Almost captain. Not because of just her leadership abilities, but because she garnered respect from everyone. When in doubt, Alex and Amos, if they butt heads, they could at least look to Naomi because they respected her. Holden respected her. Prax respected her in some way.
Yeah,
they all
did. The lieutenant.
And so what does the character look like when she no longer has that?
Yes. When she has lost everybody's respect.
And what does she look like? she looks like a desperate person.
Yep.
Not only because she's desperate to get their respect again, but it really highlights what she was doing in the last season, which is she is a desperate woman.
Yes.
She either needs things to go her way, or she's lost, or she's rejecting love, or she's still suffering the tragedy of her child no longer being around. Like, there's all of this stuff that this episode does in terms of getting rid of her biggest trait, which is the respect that she garners from others, and removing that. And what does she have left? It is this gaping void.
We should go to Tycho. Alex thinks so too. I hate it, but she's right.
Tycho.
It's the only way to keep the crew breathing and out of a Martian gulag. Fred Johnson's the devil we know.
And he owes us. Because of Naomi.
Alex should have listened to me because, God damn it, I was screaming at the screen. Don't send that message. Alex legitimately sends one of the worst voicemails that I have ever heard in a TV show. He's
so happy about it too.
Like, he's satisfied with it, and it's just like, bro, you made yourself look like the most giant turd.
And he knows it.
Possible.
And he knows
It's just
it.
like, are you trying to burn your family to the ground? Is that your goal here? Do you want to make them feel justified in never wanting to see you again?
They probably thought he was dead. He knew that. He's like, I haven't contacted you since the Donager. Sorry about that. Whoopsies. And also, by the way, you're in war now. Good luck.
Yeah.
Daddy's gone. Good luck.
Oh, and like, you know what? I always kind of wanted to do this, but I didn't want to tell you that. So I'm out. I'm not coming back.
Okay.
I'm just going to do my thing in space now.
Put those feelings aside for one moment. Just suppress them, lay them down, and let's examine this. We obviously both feel the same, in which Alex is one of the worst people. He sucks. That voice message is an awful thing to do. Do you think the show thinks that? Because I could not 100%
I think
tell, because it was done with such a purpose in terms of the visual execution, his acting. There was a music in which this felt like, finally, Alex is letting the burden off of his shoulders. Don't you feel better that Alex has come out of his cocoon? Like, he's opened up. Like, this is his big moment, guys.
Okay, somebody needs to teach Alex that sometimes there's inside thoughts, and they're thoughts that should stay inside you. They shouldn't come out of your mouth. They should just stay in your head.
But do you think the show believes that? Or do you think that this moment was supposed to be like a positive thing? Like, oh, Alex has had his awakening. He can finally be confident in himself.
His past anymore. I honestly don't know. I don't know. And I know you told me to put it to the side, but I am too clouded by how I feel about his decision and what he says. If he had said something different, even if he cut himself off a sentence earlier, if he learned the lesson that Fry learned in Futurama.
Ah, man. Futurama.
That would have changed it a lot.
Well, if he didn't send the message, you wouldn't feel as vitriolic about it, because it would be like, oh, this is how he feels on the inside, and we get to hear about it. Like, this is his soliloquy.
Or if it was added to a folder of voice memos
that he has never sent. And this is his internal conflict. We finally, in this monologue, get to know a piece of his backstory in terms of he has always had this family. We know this. But one of the things is, why has he left them behind? Now we know. Now it's concrete.
Yeah.
We don't know all of the stuff, but like, we don't know who they are. We don't know anything about his family. Not a single fucking thing. But we do know this now. And I can't believe he sent it either, but it makes me curious of this, because I would hope and I believe that the show knows that this is a bad thing, and that this speech he gives, although he presents it as this aspirational, like, oh, I have finally found myself, and isn't that wonderful? I hope that the show is going to examine more deeply that he's a selfish person. Amos is a psychopath. That's like one of his big things, right? Like, how does a show look at like a functional psychopath? And they do a really good job with Amos in that way of like his mental, like the case, like you can make a case study on his mental landscape and how he operates as just a person. I hope that they do something similar with Alex, but as a narcissist, because this really made me think back on all of these moments in the show, and I just went, oh, he's a narcissist. Like, he's a really self-indulgent person. He thinks so much of himself, and yet also he goes into these spirals of self-hatred. I really hope that that's what his thing is in terms of the mental well-being, because each one of the Rossi crew has had their thing, right? Like, Holden is the tragic hero he's like a man with he's got a hero complex, and he knows it, and he can't help himself. And we have Amos, who is a guy who wants to have feelings. He wants to be a functional person, but also he can't. He just hasn't been able to get there. And he's someone who is more drawn to violence than not. And we have Prax, who is going through a depression currently, and Naomi is going through her stuff. But Alex has always just kind of been there. And last season they tried to give him something with like he had his little angsty arc, but this opened up, but I don't know if it's opened up something fully. I hope it does.
Yeah, but what you laid out is beefy.
Will his family ever be real? Like, we know they exist, but like, will they ever be real to us? Because we don't know anything about them. We've never heard their voice in the story. We've never even gotten a version of them from Alex. He never discusses them. Not really. I don't know a single thing about them. Do you think we ever will? We're halfway through the show, like we're 3 seasons into the 6 seasons, and we don't know a single thing about them. Do you think that they will just be this device in the distance for Alex, or what?
Quite possibly. Quite possibly.
It's crazy that in a crew of people in which one of them is a psychotic murderer, you know, Amos just will murder people willy-nilly. We have Jim Holden, who has a savior complex and is, you know, willing to sacrifice people now for the goal of what he needs, and he's struggling with that, but that's okay. And Naomi, who gave a super weapon to a terrorist organization to even out the scales. It's so funny that Alex is the one that I feel disgusted by morally.
Yes.
Because he treats his wife and child terribly. Like, he treats his family terribly. You know, that just says everything, doesn't it? Because all of those other characters I listed, they're fleshed out enough in which I can still play around with them. But Alex, I feel like I know so little about him, and everything I do get to know about him makes me angry.
But you know who doesn't make me angry? He makes me happy. It's Prax.
Oh, Prax! I thought you were actually going to say Amos, because he's your boy.
Oh, he's my boy. Amos has my heart, but my heart goes out to Prax.
Man, I love Prax. I just want to say, because Amos doesn't get too much to do. I just wanted to mention that he's upset.
Yep. He is
betrayed.
Shutting down.
He's very much like a child who has found out that their parents don't always have their best interests at heart.
Yeah, because he thought that he could trust Naomi, and it takes a lot for him to trust somebody the way that he trusted her. And he's been hurt by people who were meant to protect him over and over and over again. And I think he hoped that that part of his life was over, that he'd escaped it. But it's like, no, people are still cunts.
What I really appreciated about Prax, Holden, and Alex in relation to Amos was all of them at some point, whether it was indirectly or directly, reinforced something to Amos, which is just because one person let you down doesn't mean everyone has.
No.
He was on this belief that there is no family because, well, Naomi proved otherwise. But Alex and Prax and Holden, through their stories and through what they were going through, really showed and really communicated to Amos that isn't true. Just because Naomi fucked us doesn't mean that we can't still be a family, we can't still work together, that we can't still grow and be better. And I really appreciated that for Amos. Amos is not one of my personal favorite characters, but when they hit this type of part, like this part of his growth as a character, I can't help but smile and go, oh man, I like seeing you trust people more. And when he was welding all of the stuff together with Alex and they both were in solidarity of treating Naomi like shit.
And they miss the blue goo. They miss the blue goo.
There's blue goo on the ship. And more importantly, if I could give a yum, if anything was sexy in this episode, which again, I'm not going to give any because there was no literal sex. It was the fact that Amos said blue goo. He said it. Did you? Yeah. I clapped. I said yes. And guess what? 2 season premieres have had a character say blue goo.
You brought him the blue goo.
But I interrupted your love of Prax to talk about your usual love of Amos. I guess I had more of an affinity for Amos today.
We swapped spots because usually I'm the one gushing about Amos and you're gushing about Prax.
Well, let's talk more fully about Prax and what is going on with him today on the Expanse.
He gets to name the ship. I can't remember what it's called. I remember that it's a plant that only seeds after fire.
Yeah, it's
a very meaningful name again.
Is it foreshadowing? Is it foreshadowing that the crew of the Rossi are going to have a birth through fire? That this season they're going to be pushed to the limit and they're going to have to hit their low points to rise above. Mm-hmm. Is that what's going on, guys?
Yeah.
The plant name was something that sounded like penis in my recollections. I may be wrong. Something phallic in nature, but he gets to name the ship, and I like that he got to take that responsibility on. He's the newcomer, and yet he's given this role, and he's just kind of
like,
dumbfounded.
Nobody else is talking to me, so hey, you.
Okay, sure, I'll give it a crack. This will do. Mm-hmm. But what he has going on is uncomfortable conversations with Jim Holden.
Yeah, he's stuck. He's stuck. And it's very strange because Holden is just... How to describe Holden in that scene?
Holden in this episode, he is
so much. He's seething. He's seething. I think that's a good word for it.
Seething?
Yeah.
Yeah. He reminds me of an angry teenage boy.
Angst. Angst was going to be another word that I used. But he's just like, hey, Prax, we kind of did you dirty. We said that we were going to help you. And, that was kind of a lie. But now Now I actually want to do it. So let's go to Io.
Oh, they even had that conversation in the cafeteria area, in the little kitchen area, in which he gets annoyed with Prax about, you always work in plant metaphors, don't you? That's your thing, right?
Yeah.
You're the plant guy. That's your thing.
You should try tea.
Oh yeah, that was wonderful. when
I loved
Holden
that.
smashed up the coffee machine because he was just so filled with anger about how Naomi fucked him, but not
the
literally
coffee
fucked
machine
him, because
wasn't-
that would have been awesome in the season premiere.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let it go, guys. Nor should I. But
Do you think we're going to get, like, the other ones? We got one sex scene each season and it was in the premiere. Do you think that means we're not going to get a sex scene at all this season?
yes, sad. Yeah, I'm crying too, but on the inside,
Brian,
yes.
the previous two ones were Holden.
Yeah.
What if we get an Amos one?
With who? With who? With who, Rachel? Exactly. Well, Bobby? I guess they're very similar.
No,
That's my prediction. They'll hook up at some point. Well, I wanted to go to that conversation with Prax about the plant metaphor stuff, because then Holden decides, oh no, you know what we should talk about? Instead of plant metaphors, let's go with Don Quixote again. We haven't done that since season 1 all that much, have
Yeah.
we? You know, a man
We've been
fighting against
neglecting that particular literary metaphor goldmine.
I like the acknowledgement from him about how he is a man who cannot help but fight the hopeless causes, and that Prax looks at it very differently. Like, you have a sense of purpose. You oh no, I'm foolish. No, it's okay to be like this. Yes, you may fall, but you'll get back up, and you still have a drive to life that, in a way, you have an optimism that no one else has. And Prax, God bless his heart, Jim Holden's been nothing but mean to him, and he still treats Holden like a good guy. He's like, hey, you treat me like absolute garbage, but you know what? I'm still going to try and be your friend.
Astonishing. It's astonishing.
And Prax is upset because he still can't let go of the idea that May, his daughter, was that creature.
Yep.
And that if it wasn't her, she was turned into one of those things.
But we know she's safe at the moment.
She's frozen on Io.
Frozen.
And it's they keep having flashbacks to the previous episode with the monster to really let you in on Prax's mental scape about this and how he's struggling and what's on his mind. And Holden takes a moment to see that for himself, in which he gets his head out of his own arse and realizes that there are other people who have concerns in their lives, and that maybe it's not all about Jimmy Holden saving the world. Perhaps it's about this dad who's lost his daughter and will maybe live for the rest of his life not knowing what happened and regretting that he couldn't have done more. And Jim Holden realizes, oh fuck, I didn't do right by this guy, huh?
You know what? We can make this right. Like, I can't fix the war, but I can fix this.
It's to absolve himself of
his sins,
of his previous actions and inactions. He was on a quest to save the galaxy, but by so doing, he sacrificed his own morality.
He's out of his Ahab era.
He's witnessing the ramifications of his ego with Prax, who's been nothing but a good person, and he is now having to go through such a horrible loss, and in part because Holden hasn't helped him. I loved Stephen Strait, man. He's so good as Holden, because although there are times where I don't really, like, clearly you've heard on the pod, Holden as a character annoys me at times.
Yeah.
Stephen Strait has certain line deliveries that make him so funny. When he walks into the room, he has this real manic energy, like real manic. And he just says, hey, Prax, you know your daughter? Yeah, I'm going to admit it straight up. I didn't give a fuck about your daughter.
Yeah, like it is like, okay.
Everyone gives a look like, whoa, except for Prax, who gives this look of, well, yeah, I know, I know that. You don't need to say it out loud, though.
Okay.
You don't need to say it out loud. We know this.
You went to that, okay. Why are you admitting this? Where is this going?
I got a little bit misty-eyed and I got a little bit of a flutter in my chest during the final moments where they were saying that they're going to go save the daughter and that Prax deserves this. That we aren't going to go to Tycho and do the big war plot. We are going to do this little side quest to save this guy's daughter because we should have done that in the first place.
That's what we said we were going to do. So let's do it.
And they do the classic, I vote for it. We're all in agreement here. Fuck you, Naomi. We're going to Io. And then Prax has this
majority rules.
Delirious joy that there's hope for his daughter to still be out there. And that he has friends who are willing to actually save her.
At least allies.
Yeah, I think that Amos is becoming his friend.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Or at least Prax views Amos as a friend on this ship. Because unlike Holden, Amos doesn't have any ill wills or biases towards Prax. He looks at Prax as a straight shooter.
Mm-hmm.
That is the episode. Or flight. The world is run amok. They are fighting one another. They're kicking the shit out of one another.
We have betrayal. We have lots of different conflicts. We have lots of different things going on, but no sex.
No sex. But there was blue goo.
To be clear, our system of rating an episode is yum equals bad. Yum yum equals good. And Ryan, I really want to know what you give this episode of The Expanse.
It deserves a yum for the lack of penetrative sex. That is so disappointing.
It doesn't have any sex. Like
it doesn't even hint at sex. Real sad stuff. I'm really upset, but
no oral, no anal, not
even a handy. No gobbies for Maccas today. I will have to give this episode a yum yum.
Yum yum.
I did like it very much. Yeah. There was a lot of compelling material, and as stated up top, this is the series at its best when it comes to integrating character work with story. I'm not thinking as strongly about how these scenes and these lines of dialogues and these choices made exist because there's a bigger story that needs to be told, and so you have to write these things to do those things. Instead, I am involved deeply with the people, and so I am not thinking too strongly about the writer's hand like I used to. And this episode did a really good job with that. Rachel, yum or yum yum?
See, I still felt the writers in this episode. Like, the decision to nerf Bobby's suit just a little bit. So it's still useful. She'll still get the job done, but
her boot was damaged, so she nearly fell off the ship.
Realistically in danger. I thought that was more because like she's using the grav thing and the battery's dying.
Yeah, but I imagine being zapped didn't help.
Yeah, fair. I thought it was mainly just the battery stuff. Because she moves around fine within the ship. I went into this discussion thinking that it was a firm yum yum. But there are a lot of niggling problems with it that are still valid. Like, I didn't feel like Christian was in any danger. I didn't buy that she was fighting for her life. I bought that she was fighting for that information. definitely. And I really like how everybody's reacting to the news that Naomi has betrayed them. But it is also that thing of like, and now he's set up a new conflict for these characters. So there's interpersonal drama as well as the stuff on top of it. But ultimately, it's done well. And it's done solidly. So it's still a yum yum from me.
Yum yum.
I want to know what the name of the next episode is. We have not seen it. We do not read the descriptions. All we hear is the title and go off of that. I want to hear what it is, and then we can talk about what we think will happen in the next episode or things to come. What is episode 2 of season 3?
IFF.
IFF. Do you know what that stands for?
Nope.
No guess?
No, I didn't get close quarters combat right, so...
Close quarters battle.
Oh.
Wasn't it? I said close quarters combat, but no. IFF, if I'm not mistaken, I think is like identify friend or foe. Or like identification friend or foe. I think so. I swear I've played a video game or two with that in there. And off of that title alone, I have one prediction for what the next episode is. And then I will tell you a prediction I have for the season going ahead. So which do you want to hear first?
Season.
I believe that Prax will not make it to the end of the season. Simply because the actor is not in the opening credits. They added Bobby to the opening credits. They added Sean Doyle to the opening credits in season 2. And he is a member, Prax is a member of the Rossi crew.
He's expendable.
And yet he's not in the opening credits. Terry Chen's name is not in those opening sequences. And so I think even if he's not expendable, perhaps his arc to get his daughter will conclude and then he will conclude. So my theory is he's going to last 4 episodes, maybe 5, maybe half a season, and then he's wrapped up. But he's not going to be a main character in the show because simply he's not in the opening credits. And I thought he would be, for the fact that he is a member of the Rossi crew.
Yeah, he's firmly in there for the moment being. I think that's an excellent prediction. Now that you say that, I'm like, I can get on board with that.
And my prediction for the next episode, based purely on the title, if I am mistaken, egg on my face, but I think it is identification, friend or foe. Christian and Bobby are going to meet up with the Rossi crew.
Oh,
I think they have to at this point in the season.
That's,
connect.
Yeah, I think it's them. I think we're gonna get a little bit more Tycho. And I think it'll be there, but not very much. The expedition to get the Nauvoo.
Oh yeah, I think we're gonna get some Nauvoo. Earth stuff, I think, would have to be pretty much at the forefront as well because the declaration of war would have been passed. And so they are going to be duking it out. Hence maybe the identify friend or foe because everyone's so on their they're fearful because they're shooting one another.
Battleground to get to Io.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. So those are predictions. Do you have any for the season ahead? I know we're early in, but this teased some stuff. Do you think the blue goo in the ship is going to do something in particular?
Yeah, I do. I think that's... I think it's going to be slower and more patient. That's what I think it's going to have learned.
Oh, the goo itself? All right.
Yes,
I thought you meant the writing is going to make it like that's a slow burn thing.
I suppose it is both.
I look at it as the Rossi crew is going to fly around places and the blue goo is going to deposit itself.
Spread
like, fleas
infection.
Or like cockroaches. Yeah. When ships travel, they bring vermin with them. That's how I perceive it. So we'll see if any of it comes to pass, but that is our discussion on The Expanse's Fight or Flight. Rachel, we made it. We've got up to the 3rd season now, and I cannot wait to go through it and chew through it and see where all the things land. I'm so glad that we're here. I'm also just very thankful for everyone who tunes in and listens to us, to all of the people who support us on Patreon, whether you are on the tier that can listen to this or not. I am just really thankful for all of those people who come on over, give us their financial support, but also talk to us about their opinions and feelings on the things that we do chat about. If you want to support us, yes, you can go over to the Patreon, Yum Yum Podcast, and you get to be a part of the group Discord. But you can follow us on your social media of choice under Yum Yum Pod or Yum Yum Podcast. If people want to talk to us directly, what's a great way of doing that, Rachel, outside of the Discord and outside of social media?
We have an email address, which is yumyumpod@gmail.com.
If those listeners out there are still listening to this, I have to say something super important to you right now, something that you may not have realized, which is we are in the days of The Expanse in which there are more episodes without the Gaunt Belter than there were with the Gaunt Belter. And I know there's someone shaking their fist saying he was only in 3 episodes, probably. You've been in this for a while, but
loss.
I'm no longer in the denial phase. I'm accepting that he's no longer in the show. That they actually mentioned series a lot in this episode, that was a place that they could go to and that characters had histories and connections there. But I do not think we'll ever visit it again. They probably tore down those sets and the Gaunt Belter is no longer here. So I'm going to end this episode by saying something that I know isn't true, but it feels it, which is R.I.P. Gaunt Belter. Rachel, do you have any final solemn words for our younglings?
No.
See you then. Well, voila.